Okay, I think we're ready to start here, guys. So welcome to the first ghost story night at Little Brown Jug. My name is Jazz. I'm with Giving Up the Ghost Podcast. My partner Cher. We have Ashley and Kelly. Woo! We have Ashley and Kelly from the Winnipeg Paranormal Group. So they're way cooler than we are. We just talk. Seriously, we just talk and ramble. So we're just going to start like we normally, because we're taping an episode like for the podcast. If you don't know who we are, we're Winnipeg's first and only paranormal podcast. We've been doing this 5 years. We're downloaded in 43 countries, and quite often we are in the top 10 of FeedSpot's best paranormal Canadian podcasts. Woo! Thank you. We're like a little hidden treasure. So we're just going to start off like we do tonight. We're actually going to be talking for the first hour. We are going to be talking about haunted highways in Manitoba. Ooh, very cool. I threw out the question to 5 Facebook pages on Sunday because we had received quite a few stories about haunted highways and hitchhiking ghosts. So, and we're like, there's got to be more stories. So I compiled a question onto the Facebook pages asking, does anybody have any questions or any stories on haunted highways in Manitoba? Oh my God. I probably compiled about 19 pages. I mean, large font because I'm blind. But I mean, still, 19 pages of stories. Like, it's just like the gift that keeps on giving. So we're going to just start our podcast like we normally do. Okay. So this is Jazz.
And Cher.
And this is Giving Up the Ghost Podcast.
And here we are.
Hey, and here we are. Woo! Woo! Thank you.
Oh, that version. Oh, we don't have a can to crack.
Oh, and we usually drink and swear a lot.
Yeah.
We usually drink and swear a lot on our podcast, so just takes the edge off. So like we're right at home. Like this is like a beautiful combination. Oh, and the second, I should probably also preface this. The second hour is open mic for anybody that's telling their own ghost stories. Who's anybody here who's here to tell their ghost story?
Yay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Excellent. Awesome. So. Don't worry, we won't run into this first hour and talk forever. Don't worry.
Yeah, we will.
Well, we might. And of course, you know what? After we do these stories, we'll ask open mic if anybody has any questions for these lovely ladies, because man, they've seen a lot of shit. So these ladies know it. They've experienced it. We threw out the question, hey everybody, we're compiling stories of highway ghosts throughout Manitoba, and we'd asked this group if they've ever heard or seen apparitions on the side of the highway, possibly even hitchhiking ghosts. Thanks in advance. So maybe I can throw this out to you guys before we get started. Like, have any of you experienced highway ghosts or seen or heard of stories in Manitoba with respects to hitchhiking? I can't pronounce it. It's bad. Yeah.
How many drinks have you had?
Yeah. Yeah. You too? Yeah. Okay. So is that going to be part one of the stories you're going to tell, do you think? Or could you? No. You drink on that and we'll see where you were at in an hour. Yeah. Liquid courage. Liquid courage over here. Not outing Cher. There's one that stands out, one story. I'll start the first story and then we'll just pass it around. The first story is, I know, got to put them to work, right? The first story is The Ghost Bride of Milner Ridge. This was actually from Discover Lac du Bonnet, like a little periodical. Has anybody heard of that ghost in Milner Ridge? You have? Yeah? Okay. So apparently this story is actually very popular in that when we posted that question, a lot of people confirmed. A lot of people said, yeah, I've seen it, I've heard it. So she's been around for years. It's basically of a ghostly woman in a wedding gown who haunts the Milner Ridge area along Provincial Road 214. This highway between Lac du Bonnet and Stevens Corner, also known as Milner Ridge, is a beautiful drive by day, but has become a creepy one at night for those who've heard the stories and seen the ghost herself. The tale, as told by somebody, says that they were driving through Milner Ridge, or I'll do in the first person. I was driving through Milner Ridge on my way to Beausejour one night in October about 20 years ago. It was cold and windy and pitch black outside. I was driving along when I decided to stop for someone walking along the highway who looked like she really needed help. She was dressed in a white wedding gown, which I found very unusual. I figured there must be a wedding going on somehow, and she got stranded out here and needed a ride. I stopped and said hello and asked if she needed a ride. She didn't say anything back. She just looked at me with a blank stare and got into the back seat. Her hair hung over her face, so it was hard to tell exactly what she looked like. As we drove, I asked her a few questions, like how she got out here and if she was okay. Where did she need to go, I asked. No, there was no reply. I was starting to feel a little uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. I kept looking at her in the rearview mirror, and she just sat there staring out the window. I tried a couple more times to get a response from her, and nothing. But at this point, I just decided if she didn't tell me where to drop her off, I would simply take her to the RCMP office in Beausejour, where she would be safe and could get help. I looked in the rearview mirror to tell her this, but there was no longer a young woman there to talk to. She was gone. I slammed on my brakes. I pulled over, figuring she must have passed out and was just laying on the floor of the car. I looked in the back, and there was nobody there. I was never one to believe in ghosts. Loser. But the experience was... Sorry, we don't normally judge and pick on people. So I just...
Well, we don't.
It's the booze. But now they're one of us. They're one of us through experience. Anyway, but the experience was so jarring for me that I couldn't help but ask around about any local legends that might explain it. Legend has it that many years ago, in the days of horse and wagon, a young lady and her husband-to-be living on a homestead in the Milner Ridge area died tragically on their wedding day. It's always the wedding day, isn't it? Like Fort Garry Hotel, too. Guess it wasn't meant to be. Anyway, some believe that the bride still haunts the area, walking up and down the road in search of her fiancé. This person says, I still get chills when I drive through Milner Ridge. I don't think if I experienced that, I would ever drive through Milner Ridge ever again. I'd go the long route, right? So it says, if you see her, try not to be afraid and she won't hurt you. She probably would appreciate a ride knowing that people care enough to stop and help her. All right. So with response to that, a few people said that, you know, they've seen like bright white light in around the area. They've seen like specter floating-ish stuff. And anyway, so yeah, that's the story of the Ghost Bride of Milner Ridge. Woo! Woo! Yay for dead brides. So this one's a longer one, but this one was super cool. Like I have a connection with Highway 9. We go out that way every weekend. And apparently, anybody know of Highway 7, 8, and 9? You've heard of ghosts and how haunted that is. And my God, Highway 8 is like the worst, right? Like, geez, yeah. A lot of people get killed, a lot of accidents every summer. So anyway, there's this really cool story, very descriptive story. I'm going to get Ashley to read so I can drink my beer. Is it... I got to speak louder?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Oh my God.
Can we turn up the microphones a little bit then?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
How about us? Can you hear me? More?
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 Oh, there's probably
Gaz's mic.
traffic noise.
Okay, how about mine? We're good?
That's good.
Okay.
We're good.
So I was just saying to Kelly, listening to these stories, I really want to do a road trip. And like specifically hit up these highways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring our equipment and just like...
We do
See
that
what we can
anyway.
do.
So,
Well, yeah.
yeah. Just another excuse to look for ghosts.
So this is about highways 6, 7, 8, and 9. So there's a lot of stories in here, actually, it seems.
Oh,
Which one do you want me to read?
The one that's highlighted, that's the good
Pink?
one.
Okay.
It starts right there.
Right
Yeah.
here?
that's,
All right.
that's the really good one.
So,
Scared me a little bit.
years back, I was driving up to 68 and 7. I was with 3 people. We saw this man standing at the corner, but the opposite side of the highway. About an hour later, we drove by and he was still standing there. It was a pretty warm day, and I was on the way to drop off a buddy that lives near Poplar Field. Anyway, I drove past him and couldn't drive any further. I turned around and there was some mixed conversation between the 4 of us about offering him a ride. So I stopped and asked this gentleman if he would like a ride. Like, there was 2 guys in my car plus my sister. Anyway, the man on the highway got into the car with us and he said his wife was late, and this is why he was standing out there waiting for her. He introduced himself, and I honestly can't remember his name, but later on, when I told another buddy, he said that he knew of a guy and his wife. So we're passing Vidder Highway, and he said he was thirsty, and so my sister passed him a beverage. But my sister whispered to me and said, "That's strange." My hand felt like it went through his hand when I passed him the drink. I laughed and I said, yes, that would be strange. The guys were talking with him in the back seat. Well, so much was said, and one of the things he did mention was that his wife wasn't feeling well, so that's probably why she couldn't make it to pick him up. He was talking in the past tense, so to speak, when he was telling his stories. Anyway, he said if you turn at the next left, he could walk home from there. I said, no, I'll take you right up to your doorstep if you'd like. He said he didn't want to impose, so we stopped at King Buck's store, and I opened the driver door to get out, so I could let him out the back seat. He said, I will get out here. Then he got out of the car and stood up from the car. I looked, saw him, and his one foot was on the ground, and got out of the car, and bam, gone, vanished. Honestly, my heart started pumping fast as I opened my door and said, what the fuck? Where did he go? Everyone was speechless. They all saw him move like he was getting out of the car. There was no other vehicle in the store. I went to look for him and absolutely nobody was there. I went to the store and asked the clerk, did an older man come in here like 2 minutes ago? He said no one had been in the store for a while. When I got back to the car, my sister and the guys were saying, did this just happen? We asked ourselves, did we pick up that guy? Were we actually talking to him? Tracy said, see, what did I tell you about my hand passing through his hand? And I said, well, if that's the case, how was he holding the beverage? Now back to an older friend of ours, said he knew of a guy and that our disappearing friend had actually passed away years ago and that his wife was ill, but she had passed away before he did. We had chills up our spines. How is this possible? How did 4 of us see, talk, hold his beverage, and why us? Did anyone else see him on the corner of 68 and 7? I have so many stories like this, but no one believes in this stuff.
Creepy.
Okay, why are people picking up hitchhikers? That's my
I don't know why are people thinking of hitchhikers.
This next
Do
one
we not
is my
learn?
favorite story. This is really creepy. It's scary. So it's suited that Kelly should be the one that should read
so long.
this one. I know,
My-
but it's worth it.
My throat's not the greatest, but
It's worth it.
and why are people picking up hitchhikers? That's what I want to know.
That's what I was
Good, friendly Manitoban people. We're awesome. Awesome sauce. Yeah. And why would you put them where you can't see them in the back seat? But
Pegwest highway ghost with no face.
Ooh.
Why is this
Louder.
good for me?
because it's creepy.
Oh,
That's why it's good for you.
Because I'm creepy. From an FB forum asking, what is the scariest thing you've ever encountered or seen? This one night, after an extra long sweat lodge ceremony in Pegwest, am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Me and my buddy were driving back to Winnipeg when we saw an owl. For those of you who don't know, this is usually a good sign. That's our teaching, though. When we neared this three-way junction in the rural area, about 10 minutes highway drive from any small towns, we noticed as we approached the stop sign, there was a domo, or some kind of gas station there on the right side, but it was closed. There was some sort of figure on the ground across the road from us. We initially honked, thinking it was a critter of some sort, and not wanting to hit it. It was a T intersection, and we were coming down the part. There was a girl directly across from where we were coming, and she was sitting there on the grass. As we got closer, we turned on the brights and saw a girl with long black hair sitting on the ground going back and forth. Sorry. I'm fighting a cold, I'm really sorry. Still facing away from us. Mind you, this is the middle of nowhere and at least a half an hour away from any rural small town. It was 3 a.m. and looking at her sitting on the ground, her hair was so long it almost touched the ground. She was facing away and we slowly drove up to her and we just sat in the car right behind her for 5 minutes. She didn't turn around at all. She never acknowledged us, nothing. I wanted to check to see if she needed a ride, but something told me not to interact with her and to get the hell out of there. Okay, there's somebody that's smart. I told my buddy we have to leave. If he was in danger, she would have noticed the huge lights near us behind her or acknowledged that we were even there. But she just rocked back and forth on the ground. Oh, that's a bad sign. We drove away, and as I watched her in the rearview mirror, I still couldn't see her face. She just sat there and rocked. Her skin looked pale and dirty.
You've been upstaged.
Yeah. It creeped me out. I was there. It wasn't human, but it was trying to lure us out. A couple of months later, I heard a story about the exact same girl that a woman and her mother encountered. Same thing, middle of nowhere, 3 a.m. She had long black hair, sitting on the ground, rocking back and forth. The young woman begged her mother not to interact with her, but the mother couldn't resist making sure she was okay.
Mother's instinct.
Yeah, that's true. And when she rolled down the window and called to the girl asking, "Are you okay? Do you need a ride?" The girl stopped rocking and turned to face them. In complete horror, the mother screamed and sped away as fast as she could. She was crying immensely and trembling. The young woman had been so afraid that she crouched down and squeezed herself into the bottom of her seat by the glove compartment box. She asked her mother, "What's wrong? What happened?" Her mother replied, trembling through her teeth, "That girl had no face." When I heard that story, my heart dropped into my stomach. I knew it was her. It was the same girl we saw, clear as day in our own eyes. Every time I go to Peguis, I have to pass that junction to get to the lodge. I'm going to be praying and carrying medicine with me every single time.
Nice.
That was creepy. That was a good one.
That was a good one. Okay. I also forgot to mention we have a Winnipeg celebrity with us. We have the Queer Crypt girl, just Queer Crypt.
Just the queer crypt.
Yeah,
Megan.
she's Megan. She'll be reading a story later. I just wanted to introduce her because she's on TikTok. If you guys do the tickety talk.
I do the tickety talk.
The tickety talk.